The morning mist hung thick over the Korean mountains as Dr. Kyung-ho Park climbed the rocky path. His boots slipped on wet stones, but he kept moving forward. Behind him, 3 research assistants struggled with heavy equipment. They had been walking for 2 hours, following strange readings on their ground-penetrating radar. "Professor, are you sure about this?" asked one of his students, wiping sweat from her forehead. "These readings could be anything. Maybe just old mining equipment." Kyung-ho stopped and checked his scanner again. The metal signature was huge, buried 50 meters underground. It stretched for almost a kilometer in length. No human structure could be that large and remain hidden for so long. "Trust me," he said, adjusting his backpack. "I have studied ancient sites for 20 years. This is different." The team reached a flat area between 2 peaks. Kyung-ho set down his equipment and began taking detailed scans. The readings were even stronger here. Whatever lay beneath the earth was massive and made of materials his instruments could barely identify. 3 days later, Captain Yoonbi Choi arrived with a military convoy. She was a serious woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. Her uniform was perfectly clean despite the rough mountain terrain. "Dr. Park," she said, stepping out of her vehicle, "Earth Defense Command wants to know what you found." Kyung-ho led her to the excavation site. His team had been digging for 72 hours straight. They had uncovered a section of hull that gleamed like liquid metal. The surface was smooth, but covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift in the light. "What is it?" Yoonbi asked, kneeling beside the exposed section. "I think it is a spacecraft," Kyung-ho replied. "But not from Earth. The materials are unknown. The design is completely alien." Yoonbi ran her gloved hand over the strange metal. It felt warm to the touch, despite being buried for who knows how long. The symbols seemed to glow faintly when she touched them. "How old is it?" she asked. "Carbon dating is useless on these materials," Kyung-ho explained, "but the soil layers suggest it has been here for thousands of years, maybe longer." Within a week, the site was transformed. Military engineers brought massive excavation equipment. They worked around the clock, carefully removing tons of earth and rock. Slowly, the true size of the buried object became clear. It was enormous. The ship stretched nearly a kilometer from nose to tail. Its hull was cracked in many places, with large sections missing entirely. Whatever had brought this vessel down had damaged it severely. Tae-wook Kim arrived on the 8th day. He was Earth's leading expert on quantum engineering, a thin man with thick glasses who always looked worried. He stood at the edge of the excavation pit, staring down at the alien ship in amazement. "The energy readings are incredible," he said, checking his instruments. "Even damaged like this, there are still active power sources inside." "Is it dangerous?" Yoonbi asked. Tae-wook shook his head slowly. "I do not think so. The energy levels are very low, like a battery that is almost dead." They found the first entrance on the 10th day. It was a circular opening in the ship's side, sealed by what looked like liquid metal. When Kyung-ho approached with his scanner, the metal suddenly flowed away, like water, revealing a dark passage inside. "That was not supposed to happen," Tae-wook said nervously. Yoonbi drew her sidearm. "Nobody goes in alone. We work in teams of 3, with full communication gear." The interior of the ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. The corridors were wide and curved, with walls that seemed to be grown rather than built. Strange, crystalline structures ran along the ceiling, pulsing with faint blue light. Their first steps echoed strangely in the alien halls. The air was stale but breathable, Emergency lighting systems activated as they moved, responding to their presence in ways they did not understand. "Look at this," called one of the researchers. She was standing before a wall covered in the same shifting symbols they had seen outside, but these were moving, changing patterns as they watched. "It is like a computer display," Taewook said, "but the technology is completely foreign." They spent hours exploring the ship. Most of the interior was damaged, walls were cracked, floors were buckled, and many chambers were filled with debris. But in the deeper sections, they found areas that were still intact. The control center was located near the ship's heart. It was a vast circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. Strange curved surfaces surrounded the platform, covered in thousands of symbols and indicators. "This must be where they flew the ship," Yunbi said, climbing onto the platform. As soon as her boots touched the strange surface, the entire room came alive. Lights blazed to life. Symbols began moving rapidly across every surface, and a low humming sound filled the air. "Get back," Taewook shouted, but nothing dangerous happened. The ship seemed to be welcoming them, showing them its systems. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing star charts and technical diagrams. "It is trying to communicate," Kyung-ho said with wonder in his voice. Over the following days, more specialists arrived. Linguists worked to decode the alien writing. Engineers studied the damaged systems. Biologists examined strange organic components that seemed to be part of the ship's structure. Dr. Hai-Wan Lee led the translation team. She was a patient woman who had spent years studying ancient languages. The alien symbols were more complex than anything she had encountered, but patterns began to emerge. "I think this is a log system," she explained to the others. "These symbols tell stories about journeys between stars, about battles, about the beings who built this ship." The breakthrough came 3 weeks after the discovery. Hyewan had been working with the ship's computer system, trying to establish basic communication. Suddenly, the symbols on the walls changed. They became simpler, more recognizable. "It is learning our language," she said excitedly. "The ship is adapting to communicate with us." The first translated message was short but shocking. "Warning, quarantine world. Species classification, hostile. Avoid contact." "We are the hostile species," Kyung-ho said quietly. "This ship was marking Earth as dangerous." More translations followed. The ship belonged to something called the Veiltran Empire. They were a powerful civilization that traveled between stars, claiming worlds and resources, but they had marked Earth as a place to avoid. The ship's logs told a story of a damaged vessel, forced to land on a primitive world. The crew had tried to repair their ship but failed. Eventually, they had abandoned it and called for rescue. But they left behind a warning beacon, telling other ships to stay away from the violent planet called Earth. "They were afraid of us," Yunbi said, reading the translated logs. A spacefaring civilization was afraid of primitive humans. Taewook was studying the ship's damaged systems. "This technology is centuries ahead of ours," he said. "But it was not designed to be repaired. When something broke, they simply replaced it." "What does that mean?" Kyung-ho asked. "It means they never learned to fix things the way humans do. They never had to make do with limited resources. They never had to be creative." As weeks turned to months, the team learned more about the Veiltran Empire. They were builders of vast fleets, conquerors of countless worlds. They had technology that could cross the galaxy in days, but they had abandoned this ship because they could not fix it. They gave up, Yunbi said, standing in the ship's control center. They had all this amazing technology, but when it broke, they just walked away. The ship had been waiting in the mountains for thousands of years, waiting for someone who would not give up, someone who would look at broken technology and see possibility instead of failure, someone like humans. The news of the alien ship spread quickly through Earth's scientific community. Within 2 months, the mountain site became the most important research facility on the planet. Scientists from every nation arrived to study the Velthran vessel. Tai Wook. Kim had not left the ship for 3 weeks. He slept in a tent next to the excavation site and spent every waking hour studying the alien technology. His notebooks were filled with diagrams and equations that hurt his head to think about. "The quantum mechanics are all wrong," he told his assistant one morning. "According to our physics, this ship should not be able to fly. But it clearly did. The ship's power systems were especially puzzling. The main engines were completely destroyed, but smaller power cores throughout the vessel still functioned. They produced energy in ways that human science could not explain." Dr. Hai-Wan Lee was making better progress with the translation work. The ship's computer had learned enough human language to provide basic information. Every day brought new discoveries about the Velthran Empire and their technology. "They call themselves the Great Expanse," she explained to the research team during their daily meeting. "They have controlled this part of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Captain Yunbi asked, 'How many worlds do they control?' 'Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. The ship's records are incomplete, but they mention star systems across the entire galactic arm.' The more they learned, the more worried the research team became. The Velthrons were not peaceful explorers. They were conquerors who claimed resources from every world they visited. Species that resisted were eliminated. Those that submitted became slaves. Why did they avoid Earth? Asked Dr. Kyung-ho. Hee-Wan pulled up a translated document on her tablet. According to their records, they studied human civilization about 5,000 years ago. They decided we were too violent and unpredictable to be useful slaves, too primitive to be a threat. So they marked our solar system as a quarantine zone. What does that mean exactly? Yunbi wanted to know. It means they put up warning signs, Hee-Wan replied. Any Velthran ship that comes near Earth receives automatic messages telling them to stay away. Earth is listed as containing a dangerous and unstable species. Tae-wook looked up from his work on a power core. But this ship crashed here accidentally. The crew had no choice but to land. Right, and when they could not repair their ship, they sent a distress signal. The rescue ship took the crew but left the vessel behind. They updated the warning system to specifically mention the crashed ship as additional reason to avoid Earth, the B. Implications were troubling. Earth had been ignored by a galactic empire for thousands of years, but the Velthrans had long lifespans and longer memories. Eventually, they might decide that even primitive humans were worth eliminating. Admiral Sung Min-yoon arrived at the site 1 month later. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had commanded Earth's space defense forces for 15 years and understood the strategic implications of their discovery. "How long do we have?" he asked during his first briefing. "Unknown," Hai-Wan admitted. "The Velthran records show they review quarantine worlds every few centuries. The last review of Earth was 800 years ago. The next one could be tomorrow, or in another 200 years. And when they do review Earth, they will see that human technology has advanced significantly. We have space travel now. We have colonies on Mars and the Moon. We might no longer qualify for quarantine status. Admiral Yoon studied the translated documents. What happens to species that graduate from quarantine? If they are useful, they become slaves. If they are dangerous, they are eliminated. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "Can this ship be repaired?" Taewook laughed bitterly. "Sir, this technology is centuries ahead of anything we have. The mathematics alone would take our best scientists decades to understand, and most of the critical systems are completely destroyed. But you have been studying it for months. You must have learned something." "Yes, sir, I have learned that. Vilethron engineering is very different from human engineering. They build everything to be perfect from the beginning. When something breaks, they replace the entire system." Dr. Dae-Yun Song had been listening quietly. She was a young astrophysicist with brilliant insights into quantum mechanics. "Sir, may I make an observation?" "Please do." The Velthrons abandoned this ship because they could not fix it, but they never tried to understand it differently. They only knew how to replace broken parts with identical parts. "What are you suggesting?" Dae-Yun walked over to one of the exposed power cores. "Humans fix things differently. When something breaks, we find ways to make it work with whatever we have available. We improvise. We adapt." Taewook shook his head. "The technology gap is too large. It would be like trying to repair a computer with stone tools." "Maybe," Da-Un replied. "But we are not trying to build Vilethron technology. We are trying to build human technology that can do the same things." Admiral Yoon was interested. "Explain." "The Velthrons built this ship to work perfectly within their technological framework. But what if we built hybrid systems? What if we used human engineering principles to solve Velthron problems?" Over the following weeks, Da-Yun's team began detailed analysis of the ship's systems. They were not trying to copy Velthron technology. Instead, they were trying to understand what each system was supposed to accomplish. "Look at this," Da-Un said, showing her findings to the others. "The Vilethron engines work by manipulating quantum fields. Our technology cannot do that. But we can achieve similar results using controlled fusion reactions combined with gravitational manipulation." Taewook was skeptical. "The power requirements would be enormous." "Yes, if we tried to match Vilethron efficiency. But we do not need to match their efficiency. We just need to make the ship move." The breakthrough came when they discovered that many of the ship's systems were modular. The Velthrons had designed components that could be easily swapped out, but they had only built replacements that worked exactly like the originals. "We can build different modules," Da-Un explained. "Modules that interface with Vilethron systems, but use human technology inside." Dr. Kyung-ho was studying the ship's structural design. "The hull materials are incredible," he reported. "They are stronger than anything we can make, but they are also self-repairing to some extent. Small cracks seal themselves over time." "How?" Admiral Yoon asked. "The hull contains microscopic machines that constantly maintain the structure. Most of them are still working, even after thousands of years." Hee-Woon had been working with the ship's computer systems. "I think I understand how their artificial intelligence works," she said. "It is not like human computers. It actually thinks, but only about specific tasks. It cannot be creative or adapt to new situations." "Can we interface with it?" "I believe so. The AI is designed to accept input from biological operators. It should be able to work with human brain patterns, though it might be confused by how differently we think." As the months passed, the research team began to see possibilities where they had once seen only impossibilities. The Velthron ship was incredibly advanced, but it was also rigid and inflexible. Human technology was primitive by comparison, but it was adaptable and creative. "We cannot build a Velthron ship," Admiral Yoon concluded during a strategy meeting, "but we might be able to build something better, something that combines the best of both civilizations." Tae-wook had been working on power system designs. "The hybrid approach might actually be superior," he admitted. "Velthron systems are efficient but fragile. Human systems are robust but power-hungry. Combined systems could be both efficient and reliable." "How long would it take?" the Admiral asked. "Years," Da-un replied. "Maybe a decade. We would essentially be rebuilding the entire ship from the inside out. And we would need resources, lots of them." Admiral Yoon nodded. "Earth Defense Command is prepared to make this project our highest priority. If the Valthrons eventually come back, we need to be ready." The project officially began 6 months after the ship's discovery. It was given the code name Second Chance and classified at the highest levels. Only a few hundred people on Earth knew that humanity was attempting to rebuild an alien starship. But they were not just rebuilding it. They were improving it. They were taking abandoned alien technology and making it better through human ingenuity and determination. The Valthrons had written off Earth as a world full of violent primitives. They were about to learn that primitive did not mean helpless, and that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one you underestimated. Dr. Hai-Wan Lee had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned from staring at alien text, but she could not stop working. The ship's central database was finally opening its deepest files, and what she found there made her hands shake. "Admiral Yoon," she called over the communication system, "you need to see this immediately." Admiral Sung-Min Yoon arrived within an hour, bringing Captain Eun-bi and Dr. Da-un Song with him. They found Hae-wan in the ship's data center, surrounded by holographic displays showing Velthron records. "What did you discover?" the Admiral asked. Hae-wan pointed to a massive star chart floating in the air. Thousands of star systems were marked with different colored symbols. "This is a map of Velthron territory. Each color represents a different status." "What do the colors mean?" "Green systems are fully controlled Velthron colonies. Yellow systems contain slave species that provide resources and labor. Red systems are marked for elimination." The humans studied the chart in silence. The vast majority of marked systems were green or yellow. There were very few red markers. "How many species are we talking about?" Captain Yoon-bi asked quietly. "According to these records, the Velthrons have encountered over 40,000 intelligent species in the past 10,000 years. Admiral Yoon felt cold. "How many still exist?" Hee-wan's voice was barely a whisper. "Less than 8,000. The rest were eliminated as threats or died out under Velthron rule." Da-un stared at the holographic display. "They have been committing genocide on a galactic scale." "It gets worse," Hae-wan continued. She called up another set of records. "These are detailed reports on species elimination. The Velthrons do not just kill populations. They destroy entire ecosystems to make sure nothing can ever evolve on those worlds again." The records showed world after world stripped of all life. Some species had been eliminated because they were too aggressive, others because they were too peaceful and would not fight well as slaves. Some were killed simply because their worlds had valuable resources that were easier to extract without native interference. "What about the species that survived?" Admiral Yoon asked. "They serve as workers in Velthron mining operations and manufacturing facilities. Most are kept on their home worlds but under strict control. Some are transported to work on other planets. Captain Yunbi studied the slave world records. These population numbers keep decreasing. Even the surviving species are dying out slowly. The Velthrons do not seem to care about maintaining their slave populations, Yewan explained. They use them until they are no longer useful, then find new species to replace them. Dr. Da Yun was analyzing the technical data. Their expansion pattern is systematic. They move outward from their core worlds in waves, claiming everything in their path. According to these projections, they will reach the outer edges of our galactic arm within the next 500 years. And they will not skip quarantine worlds forever, Admiral Yun said grimly. Haiwan called up Earth's file in the Velthron database. The information was both fascinating and terrifying. The Velthrons had been observing human civilization for much longer than they had initially believed. First contact was 8,000 years ago, she read from the translated records. A Velthran scout ship detected radio emissions from Earth and came to investigate. 8,000 years ago, humans barely had agriculture, Captain Yunbi pointed out. The radio emissions were not from human technology. They were from the ship's own communication systems reflecting off Earth's atmosphere. But when the scout ship arrived, they found primitive humans and assumed we had somehow detected their presence. The ancient Velthron report was filled with commentary about human behavior. The aliens had observed early human societies and been disturbed by what they saw. Humans fought constant wars. They formed alliances that they quickly broke. They showed extreme creativity in developing new weapons and tactics. They called us chaotically aggressive, Haiwan translated. Unlike other species they had encountered, humans seemed to fight for abstract concepts rather than just resources. They could not predict human behavior using their standard psychological models. So they decided we were too dangerous to enslave, Daoun concluded, and too primitive to be a real threat. But they have been updating our file regularly. Every few centuries they send long-range scout probes to check on human development. Admiral Yun leaned forward. What do the recent reports say? Haiwan's expression became even more worried. The last update was 50 years ago. The probe detected human space travel and nuclear weapons. The report recommended upgrading Earth's status from quarantine to monitoring with intent to evaluate. What does that mean? It means they are planning to take a closer look at us. Soon. The team spent the next several days studying Velthran evaluation procedures. When they decided to review a quarantine world, they sent a small fleet to conduct detailed scans and analysis. If the species had become useful, they would be enslaved. If they had become dangerous, they would be eliminated. Based on their historical patterns, an evaluation fleet consists of 3 to 5 ships, Daoun reported. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a planet's surface. When will they come? Admiral Yun asked. Unknown. The decision process can take decades or centuries. But once they decide to act, the fleet moves quickly. Dr. Kyung-ho had been studying Velthran military records. Their standard procedure for dangerous species is orbital bombardment, followed by ground invasion to eliminate survivors. They do not take chances. What about their weaknesses? Captain Yunbi wanted to know. They rely heavily on overwhelming technological superiority, Kyung-ho explained. Most species they encounter are far behind them technologically. They have rarely faced opponents who could adapt quickly or think creatively during combat. Haiwan had found records of the few species that had put up significant resistance. There have been only 12 major wars in Velthran history, Most lasted less than a year. The longest was 3 years, and that species had technology almost equal to the Velthrons. What happened to them? Complete extinction. The Velthrons decided that any species capable of prolonged resistance was too dangerous to exist. The research team began to understand the true scope of their situation. Humanity was not just facing conquest or enslavement. They were facing the same fate that had befallen thousands of other species: complete and total extinction. We need to accelerate the ship reconstruction project, Admiral Yoon decided. If a Velthron fleet arrives before we are ready, Earth is doomed. Da Yoon had been working on technical analysis of Velthron warships. "There is some good news," she said. "Their ships are not designed for fighting creative opponents. They rely on standard tactics and overwhelming firepower." "How is that good news?" Captain Yunbi asked. "Because humans do not fight standard battles. We adapt. We improvise. We use tactics that other species would never consider." "You think we can defeat them?" "I think we can surprise them. And sometimes surprise is enough to win." Over the following weeks, the team developed a new understanding of their mission. They were not just rebuilding an alien ship. They were creating humanity's first line of defense against galactic extinction. The Velthrons have been successful because they always face the same kinds of opponents, Admiral Yoon explained during a strategy meeting. "Species that fight like they do, using similar technology and tactics. But humans fight differently," Da-Un added. "We use deception, misdirection, and unpredictable strategies. We adapt our tactics during battle instead of following rigid plans. More importantly," Haiwan said, "we do not give up. Every other species in the Velthron records either surrendered quickly or fought conventional battles until they were overwhelmed. Humans keep fighting even when defeat seems certain." Captain Yunbi studied the holographic star chart with its thousands of dead worlds marked in red. How many of those species might have survived if they had known what they were really facing? "All of them," Admiral Yoon replied. "The Velthrons succeed because they attack without warning, and their enemies do not understand the scope of the threat until it is too late." "But we know," Da-Un said. "We know what they are, what they have done, and what they plan to do to us." "And we have their ship," Kyung-ho added. "We have their technology, their records, and their computer systems." Haiwan called up the Earth file one more time. "According to this, the Velthrons expect to find a primitive species with early space travel capability. They expect us to be like every other species they have conquered. They do not know that. We have been studying them for months," Admiral Yoon said. "They do not know that we are rebuilding their technology, and they definitely do not know that we are improving it," Da-Un concluded. The team looked around the alien ship that was slowly becoming something new. Something that combined the best of Velthron engineering with human creativity and determination. For 10,000 years, the Velthron Empire had spread across the galaxy, destroying any species that might threaten their dominance. They had eliminated countless civilizations and enslaved countless more. But they had never faced humans before. And humans, as the Velthrons had noted in their own records, were chaotically aggressive and completely unpredictable. The galaxy's greatest predators were about to meet their most dangerous prey. Jun Seo Park had worked on spacecraft his entire life, but he had never seen anything like the Velthron vessel. The former mechanic turned salvage expert stood in the ship's engine bay, staring at technology that should have been impossible. "The power coupling is completely burned out," he told Tae-wook Kim, pointing to a crystalline structure the size of a car. According to your scans, this component controlled the main propulsion system. Tae-wook nodded grimly. The Vilthrons would have simply installed a replacement coupling, but we cannot build one. The materials and manufacturing processes are completely beyond our capabilities. So we build something different, Junseo said simply. What do you mean? Junseo pulled out his tablet and began sketching. Look, the coupling is just an interface between the quantum drive and the ship's power grid, right? It does not matter how it works, as long as it performs the same function. But the quantum drive operates on principles we barely understand. We do not need to understand it. We just need to feed it the right kind of energy at the right frequency. Junseo showed his rough design to the engineer. What if we bypassed the coupling entirely? Built a completely new power management system using human technology? Tae-wook studied the sketch. This would require massive modifications to the ship's systems. So? The ship is already broken. We cannot make it worse. This conversation marked the beginning of a new approach to the reconstruction project. Instead of trying to repair Vilthron technology with Vilthron methods, the human team began developing hybrid solutions that combined alien principles with human engineering. Ye-jin. Kang led the computer programming effort. She was a brilliant software engineer who specialized in artificial intelligence systems. Her job was to interface human computers with the ship's alien AI. The Vilthron artificial intelligence is incredibly advanced, she explained to her team. But it is also incredibly limited. It can only think about problems in very specific ways. How so? Asked one of her programmers. It expects every input to follow predetermined patterns. When something unexpected happens, it basically freezes up and waits for instructions. Ye-jin had been working with the ship's AI for 3 months, learning how it processed information. The alien computer was faster and more powerful than anything humans had built, but it lacked creativity and adaptability. We are going to teach it to think like a human, she announced. Her team looked skeptical. Is that even possible? Not exactly. But we can build a human AI that works alongside the Vilthron AI. The alien system handles the complex calculations, while our system provides creative problem-solving. The hybrid AI project became one of the most challenging aspects of the reconstruction. Ye-jin's team had to create software that could communicate with alien hardware while maintaining human-style thinking patterns. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to translate between the systems, Ye-jin explained to Admiral Yoon during a progress briefing. Instead, we built an AI that thinks in both languages simultaneously. What do you mean? Our new AI, we call it Area, processes information using both human logic and Vilthron logic at the same time. It can handle precise mathematical calculations like the alien system, but it can also make intuitive leaps and creative connections like a human mind. The Area system was tested extensively before being integrated with the ship's controls. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. The hybrid AI could operate Vilthron technology while adapting to unexpected situations in real time. It is learning, Ye-jin reported with excitement. Aria is not just following programming, it is actually developing new ways to use the ship's systems. Meanwhile, Junseo and his engineering team were making similar breakthroughs with the AID ship's hardware. They discovered that many Vilthron systems could be dramatically improved by applying human engineering principles. Look at this, Junseo said, showing Admiral Yoon around the engine bay. The Vilthron power distribution system was designed for perfect efficiency under ideal conditions. But when something goes wrong, the whole system shuts down. And your solution? We built backup systems. And backups for the backups. If the primary power coupling fails, our secondary human-built coupling takes over. If that fails, we have a tertiary system that can run on emergency power. The Veilthrons had never needed backup systems because their technology rarely failed. But when it did fail, they simply replaced it. Humans, on the other hand, had learned to build redundancy into everything. Their shields are the same way, reported another engineer. Incredibly powerful when they work, but if you overload them, they collapse completely. What did you do? We added adaptive armor plating behind the shields. If the energy barriers fail, the physical armor can still protect the ship. Plus, we developed a rapid shield reset system that can bring the barriers back online in seconds instead of minutes. Dr. Dae-Yun Song was working on the ship's weapon systems. The Veilthrons had built incredibly destructive weapons, but they were designed for fighting conventional opponents. Their main guns are essentially giant energy cannons, she explained. They fire concentrated beams that can destroy other ships or bombard planets, very effective against static targets. But, Admiral Yoon prompted, but they take several seconds to charge between shots and they cannot track fast-moving targets very well. Against an opponent that uses hit-and-run tactics, they would be much less effective. Dae-Yun's team had been developing new weapon systems based on human military doctrine. Instead of a few powerful guns, they installed many smaller weapons that could fire rapidly and track multiple targets. We also added something the Veilthrons never considered, she said with a smile. Missile systems. They do not use missiles. Their technology is so advanced that they never needed to. Energy weapons are more efficient and do not require ammunition. But missiles can be programmed with independent guidance systems. They can think for themselves, adapt to changing situations, and attack from unexpected angles. The missile project became a collaboration between Dae-Yun's weapons team and Ye Jin's AI group. They developed smart missiles that used simplified versions of the Aria system for guidance. Each missile is essentially a small spacecraft with its own artificial intelligence, Dae-Yun explained. They can coordinate with each other, share information, and adapt their attack patterns in real time. As the months passed, the reconstructed ship began to look less like a Veilthron vessel and more like something entirely new. The hull was reinforced with human armor. The interior was redesigned for human crew, comfort, and efficiency. The systems were rebuilt with human redundancy and adaptability. We are not building a better Veilthron ship, Admiral Yoon observed during one inspection. We are building the first human starship. Commander Bo-Ra Nam arrived to oversee the final phases of reconstruction. She was a career military officer with experience in both space operations and ground combat. Her job was to ensure that the ship could actually be operated effectively by human crews. The Veilthron control systems were designed for their physiology, she reported after her first week studying the ship. Their hands are different from ours. Their eyes see different wavelengths, and their brains process information differently. Can we adapt the controls? We are rebuilding them completely. The new control systems will be intuitive for humans to use. We are also adding manual override systems for every major function. Why manual overrides? Because humans sometimes need to do things that are not in the instruction manual, Bo-Ra replied. The Veilthrons built everything to operate according to predetermined procedures. We need the ability to improvise. The life support systems required complete replacement. Veilthron atmosphere was toxic to humans, and their environmental controls could not be adapted. "We essentially built a human space station inside an alien ship," explained the life support engineer. "The crew areas are completely isolated from the original Viltran systems." Jinwoo Lee led the team responsible for integrating all the various human modifications. It was like conducting an orchestra where every musician played a different instrument and followed a different sheet of music. "The challenging part is making everything work together," he explained. "Human technology operates on different principles than Velthran technology. Getting them to communicate and coordinate is incredibly complex. But somehow, it worked. The hybrid systems not only functioned, they performed better than anyone had expected. The combination of Velthran precision and human adaptability created something greater than the sum of its parts. The ship's performance parameters exceed theoretical maximums for both human and Velthran technology," Tae-wook reported with amazement. "The hybrid systems are actually more efficient than pure systems from either civilization." 5 years after the ship's discovery, the reconstruction was nearly complete. The vessel that had once been an abandoned Vilthran wreck was now something unprecedented in galactic history. "We should give it a name," Admiral Yoon said during the final planning meeting. "What do you suggest?" Captain Yoonbi asked. The Admiral looked around at the ship that represented humanity's best hope for survival. "Redemption," he said, "because we are taking something that was discarded and making it into our salvation." The ship had been abandoned by aliens who saw only failure where they eye. 5 years had passed since the discovery of the Velthran ship. The mountain research site had grown into a massive underground facility that housed over 3,000 workers. Commander Bo-Ra Nam walked through the main hangar watching teams of engineers make final adjustments to humanity's first starship. The vessel barely resembled its original form. Where Velthran curves had once dominated the design, human angles and practical additions now defined its appearance. The hull gleamed with a mixture of alien metals and human composites, creating patterns that seemed to shift in the light. "Status report," Bo-Ra requested from her chief engineer. Jinwoo Lee consulted his tablet. "All primary systems are online and testing within acceptable parameters. The hybrid power grid is operating at 112% of projected efficiency." "How is that possible?" "The human backup systems are actually supplementing the Vilthran primary systems. Instead of just providing redundancy, they are sharing the load and optimizing power distribution." Bo-Ra nodded approvingly. Human engineering had not just repaired the alien ship, it had improved it. Every system on the vessel now performed better than its original specifications. They walked past the weapons bay, where Dr. Da Yun Song was supervising the installation of the final missile launchers. The ship now carried a mixture of Vilthran energy weapons and human projectile systems. "The energy cannons are calibrated and ready," Da-un reported. "Maximum range is approximately 50,000 kilometers with full destructive capability." "And the missiles?" "We have 400 smart missiles loaded, with manufacturing capability to produce more during extended operations. Each missile carries enough firepower to disable a ship the size of a Vilthran cruiser." Bo-Ra examined the weapon systems with satisfaction. The Velthrons relied on overwhelming firepower from long range. Human doctrine emphasized flexibility, mobility, and the ability to attack from unexpected directions. "Have you tested the swarm coordination protocols?" "Extensively. The missiles can operate as independent units or coordinate as a unified swarm. They can adapt their attack patterns in real time based on enemy defensive measures." This was something no Vilthran had ever encountered. Their weapons followed predetermined firing patterns that could be calculated and countered. Human weapons learned and adapted during combat. In the computer core, Ye-Jin Kong was making final adjustments to the Arya system. The hybrid artificial intelligence had evolved far beyond its original programming. "Area, run a full system diagnostic," she commanded. "Diagnostic complete," the AI responded in a voice that sounded almost human. "All systems operating within optimal parameters. I have identified 17 potential improvements to current configurations." What kind of improvements? Minor efficiency, gains in power distribution, enhanced targeting algorithms for weapon systems, and improved response time for emergency procedures. Ye-Jin smiled. Area was not just operating the ship, it was continuously making it better. The AI had learned to think creatively, finding solutions that neither human nor Velthran engineers had considered. "Arya, what is your assessment of our combat readiness?" "Based on Velthran military records and our current capabilities, I estimate a 73% probability of mission success against a standard Velthran patrol fleet." Those were good odds, but Bo-Ra wanted better. She walked to the ship's most unique addition, a section that no Velthran vessel had ever carried. The emotional resonance chamber was humanity's secret weapon. Dr. Kyung-ho had discovered that Velthran technology was vulnerable to certain types of psychic interference. The aliens used telepathic networks to coordinate their ships and crews, but these networks could be disrupted. "How does it work?" Admiral Yoon asked during his inspection of the chamber. "Velthran minds are very ordered and logical," Kyung-ho explained. "Their telepathic communications rely on predictable thought patterns. Human minds are chaotic by comparison. And that helps us how? We can broadcast human thought patterns directly into their telepathic networks. The chaos overwhelms their ability to coordinate and communicate effectively. The chamber contained a series of neural interface pods where human operators could project their thoughts through the ship's modified communication systems. During combat, these operators would essentially weaponize their own creativity and unpredictability. "We have tested the system extensively," Kyung-ho continued. "Human neural patterns cause feedback loops in Velthran telepathic networks. Their crews experience disorientation, confusion, and inability to focus. Is it permanent? No, but it lasts long enough to give us a significant tactical advantage. While their crews are struggling to think clearly, we can attack their ships or escape." Commander Bo-Ra had handpicked the crew for the redemption. Each person was chosen not just for their technical skills, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. Pilot Soo-Jin Han was Earth's most experienced spacecraft operator. She had flown everything from mining shuttles to military interceptors. But the redemption was unlike anything she had ever encountered. "The ship responds to thought as much as to physical controls," she reported after her first flight simulation. "The area system anticipates what I want to do and prepares the ship's systems accordingly." Is that a problem? Just the opposite. It is like flying with a co-pilot who can read my mind. The ship feels like an extension of my own body. The human AI interface had created something unprecedented. Soo-Jin could control the ship through a combination of direct neural link and traditional controls. Her thoughts guided strategy while her hands managed tactics. "The ship can execute maneuvers that should be impossible," she continued. "The hybrid systems allow for acceleration and direction changes that would crush a normal crew. But the inertial compensators adjust automatically to protect us." Tactician Minho Choi had developed entirely new combat doctrines based on the ship's unique capabilities. Traditional space combat relied on predictable maneuvers and formation fighting, Human tactics emphasized surprise, deception, and asymmetric warfare. "We fight like pirates," he explained to the crew during training exercises. "We appear suddenly, hit hard, and disappear before the enemy can respond effectively. But this is a single ship against potentially multiple enemies," one crew member pointed out. "Exactly, which means we cannot fight fair. We have to be smarter, faster, and more creative than our opponents." Minho's tactics took advantage of every human modification to the ship. The adaptive camouflage systems could make the Redemption nearly invisible to Valthran sensors. The missile swarms could attack from multiple directions simultaneously. The emotional resonance weapons could disrupt enemy coordination. Most importantly, Minho emphasized, we never do the same thing twice. Every engagement must be completely different from the last. Predictability is death. The ship's manufacturing capabilities had been greatly expanded. Where the Valthrons had built fixed systems that required replacement parts, humans had installed adaptable fabrication units that could produce whatever was needed. "We can manufacture ammunition, spare parts, and even new weapon systems during extended operations," Jinwoo reported. "The fabrication units use both Valthran molecular assembly and human industrial techniques." "How long can we operate independently?" "Theoretically, indefinitely. As long as we have raw materials, we can produce everything we need to maintain and upgrade the ship." This self-sufficiency was another advantage the Valthrons would not expect. Their ships required regular resupply from fixed bases. The Redemption could operate for years without returning to Earth. As the reconstruction neared completion, the ship underwent extensive testing. Every system was pushed to its limits and beyond. The crew trained constantly, learning to work with technology that combined the best of two very different civilizations. "The ship performs beyond all projections," Admiral Yoon noted with satisfaction. "But our real test will come when we face actual Valthran forces." "When will that be?" Commander Bora asked. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual activity in nearby star systems, long-range scout ships that match Valthran signatures." The news sent a chill through the facility. For 5 years they had worked frantically to prepare for a threat that might arrive at any time. Now it seemed that time was running out. "How long until they reach Earth?" Bora wanted to know. "Unknown. The scout ships could be conducting routine surveys, or they could be preparing the way for an evaluation fleet. We must assume the worst." The Redemption was as ready as human ingenuity could make it. The ship combined Valthran technology with human creativity to create something neither civilization could have built alone. It was faster than any human vessel, more adaptable than any Valthran ship, and equipped with weapons that no alien force had ever encountered. But it was still just one ship against a galactic empire that had destroyed thousands of civilizations. "Will it be enough?" someone asked. Admiral Yoon looked around at the ship that represented humanity's best hope for survival. "It has to be," he said simply, "because this is all we have." The Redemption was more than just a spacecraft. It was a symbol of human determination and creativity. It proved that even primitive species could accomplish amazing things when they refused to accept limitations. The Valthrans had abandoned their boar. The Redemption's first test flight took place on a cold morning in the Korean mountains. Pilot Soo-Jin Han sat in the command chair, her hands resting on controls that had been designed specifically for human physiology. Around her, displays showed information in formats that human minds could quickly understand. "All systems are green," reported engineer Jin-Woo Lee from his station. Power output is stable at optimal levels. Aria, are you ready? Sujin asked the ship's artificial intelligence. All systems nominal, Aria replied. Flight path calculated and approved by Earth Defense Command. I am ready to proceed when you are. Sujin took a deep breath and engaged the engines. The Redemption lifted off the ground with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. The hybrid propulsion system combined Velthron anti-gravity with human fusion drives, creating smooth acceleration that barely registered on the inertial compensators. We are airborne, Sujin reported to ground control. Climbing to test altitude. The ship rose through Earth's atmosphere like it was moving through water. The Velthron technology handled atmospheric flight effortlessly, while human modifications provided precise control and responsiveness. How does it feel? Asked Commander Bo-Ra Nam over the communication system. Like flying a dream, Sujin replied honestly. The ship responds before I even finish thinking about what I want to do. The neural interface technology allowed Sujin to control the ship through a combination of conscious commands and subconscious intentions. Aria interpreted her thought patterns and translated them into ship operations. Engaging sublight drives, Sujin announced as they reached the edge of space. The Redemption accelerated smoothly toward the moon. The hybrid engines provided both the efficiency of Velthron technology and the reliability of human engineering. If one system failed, the others would automatically compensate. Speed is increasing beyond projected parameters, Jin-Woo reported with excitement. We are exceeding theoretical maximums by 15%. How is that possible? The human modifications are working better with the Velthron systems than we predicted. Instead of just adding functionality, they are optimizing performance. The first test flight lasted 6 hours and covered the distance from Earth to the moon and back 3 times. Every system performed flawlessly. The ship handled like a fighter craft despite being the size of a small city. Landing approach initiated, Sujin announced as they returned to the mountain facility. The Redemption touched down exactly where it had taken off, its engines shutting down smoothly. The test crew emerged from the ship with expressions of amazement and satisfaction. That was incredible, Sujin told the waiting engineers and commanders. This ship can do things that should be impossible. Over the following weeks, the Redemption underwent increasingly complex tests. The weapon systems were calibrated against remote targets. The defensive systems were tested against simulated attacks. The emotional resonance chambers were activated. During mock combat scenarios, tactician Min-Ho Choi developed training programs that pushed both the ship and crew to their limits. The exercises were designed to prepare them for combat against opponents with superior technology and numbers. Remember, we cannot win through superior firepower, he told the crew during one briefing. We have to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than anything the Velthrons have ever faced. The combat simulations were unlike anything in human military history. The crew learned to fight in 3 dimensions across vast distances, using weapons that could think for themselves and tactics that changed from moment to moment. The key is adaptation, Min-Ho explained. Every time we engage an enemy, we must use different tactics. If we become predictable, we lose our only advantage. Dr. Da-Yun Song's missile systems proved especially effective during testing. The smart missiles could coordinate attacks in ways that confused and overwhelmed defensive systems. Watch this, she said during one demonstration. She launched a swarm of 20 missiles at a series of target drones. Instead of attacking directly, the missiles split into multiple groups, approached from different angles, and struck their targets simultaneously. The missiles are sharing information and coordinating their attack patterns in real time, she explained. No two attacks are exactly the same, even when targeting identical opponents. The emotional resonance chambers underwent extensive testing with volunteer operators. Dr. Kyung-ho had recruited humans with particularly chaotic thought patterns to serve as psychic weapons operators. The more creative and unpredictable the operator, the more effective the system, he explained. Artists, musicians, and writers make the best psychic warfare specialists. During one test, the operators successfully disrupted a simulated Velthron communication network for over 10 minutes. The artificial telepathic system simply could not process the chaotic human thought patterns. It is like trying to have a conversation during an earthquake, one of the operators described. The human thoughts create so much interference that coherent communication becomes impossible. As testing continued, the crew developed an almost supernatural connection with their ship. Soo-jin could execute maneuvers that required split-second timing across multiple systems. Jin-woo could diagnose and repair problems before they became critical. The weapons operators could coordinate attacks with precision that amazed their commanders. "We are not just operating this ship," Commander Bo-ra observed. "We are becoming part of it." The observation was more accurate than she realized. The hybrid technology was designed to work with human intuition and creativity. The longer the crew worked with the ship, the more responsive it became to their needs and intentions. "Arya is learning from us," Yejin Kong reported. "The AI is developing personality traits that match our crew's working styles." "Is that safe?" "I believe so. Arya is not becoming human, but it is learning to think in ways that complement human thinking. The result is more effective than either pure human or pure artificial intelligence." 6 months after the first test flight, Admiral Sung Min Yoon announced that the Redemption was ready for operational deployment. The ship and crew had exceeded every performance target and demonstrated capabilities that surpassed the original alien technology. "But we still face a fundamental problem," the Admiral admitted during a final briefing. "This is one ship against an entire galactic empire." "What are our actual chances?" Commander Bo-ra asked. "Unknown. We have no reliable data on how effective our modifications will be against real Valthron forces. Our estimates range from complete success to total failure." Tactician Min Ho had been studying historical examples of asymmetric warfare. "Small forces can defeat larger ones if they use appropriate tactics," he said. "But it requires perfect execution and a willingness to take enormous risks." "What kind of risks?" "We cannot fight a defensive war. If we wait for the Veltrons to attack Earth, we will lose. Our only chance is to strike first, before they are prepared for resistance." The strategy was audacious and dangerous. Instead of waiting for an evaluation fleet to arrive at Earth, the Redemption would seek out Veltron forces and engage them on humanity's terms. "We have identified 3 potential target systems," Admiral Yoon explained, showing star charts on the main display. "Long-range sensors have detected Valthran scout ships in each location. Single ships or fleets. Appears to be individual scouts conducting preliminary surveys. If we can capture or destroy them before they report back, we might delay a full evaluation fleet." Pilot Soo-jin studied the star charts. "Those systems are weeks away, even with our improved drive systems." "Exactly. Which means we will be operating far from Earth, with no possibility of support or reinforcement." Commander Bo-ra looked around at her crew. They were the best humans had to offer, but they were still just people. In a few weeks they would be facing technology and opponents beyond anything in human experience. "Are we ready for this?" she asked. The question hung in the air for a long moment. Then Su Jin answered for all of them. "We are as ready as we can be. This ship is the best thing humanity has ever built. Our crew has trained harder than any military unit in history. Our technology combines the best of two civilizations." "But," Bo-Ra prompted, "but we are still human. We make mistakes. We get tired. We feel fear." Su Jin paused, then continued. "However, humans also do impossible things when we have to. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." Engineer Jin Woo nodded. "The Veilthrons have superior technology, but they have never faced opponents who think like us. They expect their enemies to fight like they do," added tactician Minho. "Logical, predictable, following established patterns. We are going to show them something completely different." Dr. Da-Yun checked her weapon systems one final time. "Our missiles are loaded, our energy weapons are calibrated, and our defensive systems are optimized. Area is ready as well," reported Ye Jin. "The AI has run millions of combat simulations and developed tactical responses to every scenario we could imagine." Admiral Yoon looked at the crew that would carry humanity's hopes to the stars. "In 3 days, you will depart for your first mission. You will be representing not just Earth, but the principle that intelligence and determination can overcome any obstacle." "What are our orders?" Commander Bo-Ra asked. "Find the Veilthron scouts. Learn everything. The Redemption dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, its stealth systems immediately activating." Pilot Su Jin Han felt the familiar tingle of the neural interface as she merged her consciousness with the ship's sensors. "Contact," she whispered, her voice barely audible on the bridge. 3 ships, bearing 27 Mark 15. Configuration matches Veilthron patrol vessels." Commander Bo-Ra Nam studied the tactical display. The alien ships were moving in perfect formation toward the system's inner planets, their energy signatures identical to the vessels described in the captured database. "Range and disposition?" she asked quietly. 40,000 kilometers and closing. They appear to be conducting a systematic survey of the system. Tactical specialist Minho Choi analyzed the enemy movement patterns. "Standard Veilthron reconnaissance protocol. They have not detected us yet." Engineer Jin Woo Lee monitored the ship's stealth systems. "All emissions are suppressed. The adaptive camouflage is functioning perfectly. To their sensors, we should appear to be empty space." "Aria! Analysis!" Bo-Ra commanded the ship's artificial intelligence. "Veilthron patrol formation Delta 7, Aria responded immediately. 3 destroyer-class vessels. Crew complement approximately 60 per ship. Armament includes standard energy weapons and defensive shields. They are following predictable search patterns." Dr. Da-Yun Song checked her weapon systems. "Missiles are loaded and ready. Energy weapons are charged. All targeting systems are online. Emotional resonance chambers are prepared," reported Dr. Kyung-ho from his station. "Operators are in position." Bo-Ra studied the tactical situation. 3 enemy ships against 1. Under normal circumstances, the odds would be hopeless. But these were not normal circumstances. "Minho, recommend attack pattern." The tactician called up a 3-dimensional battle plan on the main display. "We hit them fast and hard before they can coordinate a response. The missile swarm takes out their communications, while we target their engines with energy weapons. Time to weapons range, 18 minutes at current approach speed." Bo-Ra made her decision. "All stations prepare for combat. Su Jin close to optimal firing range, but maintained stealth. The Redemption moved like a ghost through space, its hybrid propulsion system producing no detectable emissions. The Vilethron ships continued their survey, completely unaware that death was approaching. 15,000 kilometers, Sujin reported. Still undetected. "This is too easy," Jinwoo muttered. "Why haven't they spotted us?" "Because they are not looking for us," Minho explained. "According to their records, this system contains only primitive worlds. They expect no resistance. 10,000 kilometers. Optimal weapons range achieved." Bo-Ra took a deep breath. In the next few minutes, humanity would either prove itself capable of fighting a galactic empire or die trying. All stations report readiness. Weapons ready, engines ready, defense systems ready, emotional resonance ready, area ready, execute. Attack pattern Alpha. All weapons free. The Redemption dropped its stealth and opened fire simultaneously. Dae-Yoon's missile swarm erupted from the ship's launchers, 40 smart weapons accelerating toward the 3 Velthron vessels. At the same time, the ship's energy cannons fired precisely targeted beams at the enemy engines. The attack was perfectly coordinated and utterly unexpected. The Velthron ships had no warning before the first missiles struck their communication arrays and the energy beams disabled their propulsion systems. "Direct hits on all targets," Da-Yoon reported with satisfaction. "Enemy vessels are dead in space, but the Velthrons were not defenseless. Even damaged, their ships began returning fire with weapons that could vaporize a normal spacecraft. Incoming energy fire," Jinwoo announced. "Raising shields, the Redemption's hybrid defensive. Systems activated." Velthron energy barriers deflected most of the incoming fire, while human adaptive armor absorbed the rest. The ship shook under the assault but remained intact. "They are trying to coordinate a response," reported the communications officer. "Multiple transmission attempts on various frequencies." "Kyung-ho, activate emotional resonance," Bo-Ra commanded. In the special chambers deep within the ship, human operators opened their minds to the chaotic patterns of human thought. The ship's modified communication systems amplified these patterns and broadcast them directly into the Velthron telepathic networks. The effect was immediate and devastating. The alien ships suddenly stopped their coordinated fire as their crews struggled with massive mental interference. "Enemy coordination is breaking down," Minho observed. "They cannot maintain telepathic contact." "Second missile wave. Launch now," Bo-Ra ordered. Another swarm of smart missiles streaked toward the disabled Velthron ships. These weapons were programmed for capture rather than destruction. They attached to the alien hulls and began cutting precise holes in the armor. "Boarding protocols initiated," Da-Yoon reported. "The missiles are creating entry points for capture teams." But the Velthrons had one more surprise. The lead ship suddenly blazed with energy as it activated what appeared to be a self-destruct sequence. "Energy spike on target 1, Jinwoo warned. "They are overloading their power core. All ships back. Emergency speed," Bo-Ra commanded. Sujin threw the Redemption into a violent evasive maneuver just as the Velthron ship exploded. The blast was visible across half the solar system, a brief star that illuminated the entire battlefield. "Status report," Bo-Ra called out as the ship stabilized. "We lost half our boarding missiles in the explosion," Da-Eun said, "but the other 2 ships are still intact." "They are trying to scuttle their vessels as well," Arya announced. "I am detecting similar energy buildups. Can we stop them?" "Negative. The self-destruct sequences are hardwired into their core systems." Bo-Ra made a quick decision. "All remaining missiles, full assault. If we cannot capture them, We disable them completely. The final missile attack was overwhelming. Smart weapons swarmed over the two remaining Vilethron ships, targeting every weapon, every engine, every system that could be used for communication or destruction. The alien vessels went completely dark, their power systems shut down, and their crews presumably unconscious from the emotional resonance interference. Targets neutralized, Minho reported. No active systems detected. Life signs? Faint, but stable. The crews appear to be alive but incapacitated. Bo-Ra felt a mixture of relief and triumph. The first engagement between humans and Velthrons had ended in complete human victory, but she knew this was just the beginning. Recovery teams, prepare for boarding operations. We need to secure those ships and gather intelligence. The boarding operation took 6 hours. Human Marines, protected by suits designed to interface with Vilethran atmosphere, carefully explored the alien vessels. They found crews of strange beings with elongated skulls and pale skin, all unconscious from the psychic attack. The aliens are alive but completely unresponsive, reported the boarding team leader. Their technology is incredible, but most of it is damaged beyond repair. Any intact systems? Communication equipment and computer cores appear functional. We should be able to extract their navigation data and mission parameters. Dr. Hyawan Lee worked for hours to interface human computers with the captured Vilethron systems. The intelligence she extracted was both encouraging and terrifying. These were advanced scouts for a full evaluation fleet, she reported to Bo-Ra. According to their mission logs, the main fleet is assembling in a system about 50 light-years from Earth. How large is the main fleet? 15 ships, including several that are classified as planet killers. They were planning to arrive at Earth in approximately 6 months. Were planning. These scout ships were supposed to report back in 3 days. When they fail to make contact, the main fleet will investigate. Bo-Ra studied the captured data. How long before they send someone to look for the missing scouts? Unknown. Could be days, could be weeks. But they will come. The implications were clear. The successful attack had bought Earth time, but it had also announced humanity's presence to the Velthron Empire. The galaxy's greatest predators now knew that their prey had developed teeth. We cannot return to Earth yet, Bo-Ra decided. If they track us back to our home system, they will know exactly where to find us. What do you suggest? Asked Minho. We keep hunting. There are other scout ships in nearby systems. We find them and destroy them before they can report our capabilities. Engineer Jin Woo was already working on repairs and upgrades. The battle damage was minimal. We can be ready for another engagement within hours. The emotional resonance system worked better than predicted, Kyung-ho added. The Velthron crews were completely incapacitated for over an hour. Pilot Su Jin was studying the captured navigation data. There are at least 6 more scout ships within range. If we move fast, we can hit them before word spreads. Do it, Bo-Ra commanded. We hunt down every scout ship in this sector. We make it impossible for them to gather intelligence on human capabilities. Over the following weeks, the Redemption became a ghost ship, appearing suddenly in star systems across the local galactic region. Each attack was different, using new tactics and weapons combinations that kept the Vilethrons from developing effective countermeasures. Scout ship after scout ship disappeared without a trace. The few that managed to send distress signals, 3 months after the first engagement, the Redemption hung in space above a captured Vilethron communication station. Commander Bo-Ra Nam stood on the bridge, watching repair teams work on the alien facility. They were not destroying it. They were fixing it. Status report, she requested from Engineer Jin Woo Lee. The communication array is almost fully operational, he replied, consulting his tablet. We have integrated human control systems with the Vilethron transmission systems. We can now broadcast directly to any location in their empire. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind of successful raids and captured technology. The Redemption had destroyed 17 scout ships, captured 4 communication stations, and gathered enough intelligence to understand the true scope of the Vilethron Empire. How many ships are in the evaluation fleet? Bora asked Dr. Haiwan Lee. 23 vessels now, Haiwan replied grimly. They have been reinforcing the fleet as our attacks continued. 3 of them are classified as world killers. And their timeline? They will reach Earth in 6 weeks. Maybe less. Bora nodded. The harassment campaign had been successful, but it had also accelerated the Vilethron response. The Empire was no longer treating Earth as a minor threat to be casually eliminated. They were sending enough firepower to sterilize the entire solar system. Are we ready? She asked tactician Minho Choi. The message packages are prepared, he confirmed. 47 individual data packets, each containing complete documentation of our capabilities and intentions. This was humanity's masterstroke. Instead of waiting for the evaluation fleet to arrive, they were going to send the fleet home with a message. Area, are the captured ships ready for launch? Bora asked the ship's artificial intelligence. All vessels are fully operational, Area replied. I have integrated human navigation systems with their original Vilethron technology. The ships can reach their destinations without crew input. Over the past month, the Redemption had been carefully repairing the Vilethron ships they had captured. But these were not ordinary repairs. Human engineers had modified every system, improved every component, and added capabilities that no Vilethron had ever imagined. Show me the message, Bora commanded. The main display activated, showing a recording that would soon be broadcast across the Vilethron Empire. Admiral Sung Min Yoon appeared on screen, standing in front of the rebuilt alien ship. To the Vilethron Empire, he began, his voice calm and measured. You abandoned a broken starship on our world 5,000 years ago. You marked Earth as a quarantine zone, home to a species too primitive to matter and too chaotic to control. The recording continued as the Admiral walked through the Redemption's interior, showing the hybrid technology that combined human and alien systems. You were wrong on both counts. We found your ship. We studied your technology. We learned about your empire and your history of genocide. And we rebuilt your abandoned vessel into something better than you ever imagined. The display showed footage from recent battles demonstrating the Redemption's capabilities against Vilethron forces. This ship that you discarded has destroyed 17 of your scout vessels. It has captured your technology and turned it against you. It has proven that human ingenuity can overcome Vilethron arrogance. The recording shifted to show Earth's cities, its space stations, and its growing fleet of human vessels. But this is not a message of aggression. This is an offer. You have spent 10,000 years conquering and destroying species that could have been your allies. You have eliminated civilizations that could have contributed to galactic progress. You have chosen domination over cooperation. Admiral Yoon's image returned to the screen. Earth offers you a different choice. Join us as equals in building a better galaxy, or face us as enemies in a war you cannot win. We have taken your most advanced technology and made it better. We have learned from your tactics and developed superior strategies. We have turned your abandoned tools into instruments of liberation. The message concluded with a simple statement that would echo throughout the Empire. We are humans. We do not surrender. We do not submit. And we do not forget. Choose wisely. How many ships will carry this message? Bora asked. All 47 captured vessels, Minho replied. Each one will travel to a different Velthron system and broadcast the message continuously until it is acknowledged. Dr. Da Yun Song had been working on the most important modification to the captured ships. The vessels themselves are part of the message, she explained. Every ship has been upgraded with human technology. When the Velthrons examine them, they will see exactly how much we have improved their designs. What kind of improvements? Everything. Faster engines, stronger shields, more efficient weapons, better computers. We have taken their technology and made it superior in every measurable way. This was perhaps the most devastating aspect of humanity's message. The Velthrons prided themselves on technological superiority. To discover that primitive humans had improved their most advanced systems would shake the foundation of their empire. The emotional resonance systems are the most important addition, Dr. Kyung-ho noted. Every ship now carries the capability to disrupt Velthron telepathic networks. Will they be able to remove those systems? Eventually, but not easily. We have integrated them into the core operating systems. Attempting to remove them would disable the ships entirely. Pilot Soo-Jin Han was preparing for the final phase of their mission. The captured ships are ready for launch. They will reach their target systems within days of each other. And the evaluation fleet? Still approaching Earth, but their communications suggest confusion and uncertainty. Our raids have made them cautious. Bora walked to the observation deck, looking out at the 47 Velthron ships floating in space around the Redemption. Each vessel had been transformed from a tool of oppression into a messenger of liberation. Begin the launch sequence, she commanded. One by one, the captured ships activated their drives and jumped to hyperspace. They carried no crews, only automated systems programmed with a single mission: deliver humanity's message to the Velthron Empire. All ships away, Soo-Jin reported. Message packages are active. Now came the waiting. Within days, the first ships would reach their destinations and begin broadcasting. The message would spread throughout the Empire faster than any military response could be organized. What do you think they will do? Jin Woo asked. Some will want to negotiate, Minho predicted. Others will want to fight, but all of them will have to acknowledge that humans are no longer primitive. And the evaluation fleet? They will receive new orders within hours of the first message broadcasts. The Empire will have to decide whether to proceed with the attack or attempt diplomacy. Bora studied the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. 23 ships carrying enough firepower to destroy Earth's civilization, but also 23 ships that would soon learn they were facing an opponent unlike any the Empire had encountered before. Set course for Earth, she commanded. It is time to go home. The Redemption's journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, the ship's communication systems intercepted increasing amounts of Velthron military traffic. The Empire was in chaos as reports flooded in from the message ships. The response is better than we hoped, Haiwan reported. Multiple systems are acknowledging the messages and requesting additional information. Any hostile responses? Some, but they are outnumbered by neutral or positive reactions. The Empire appears to be divided on how to respond. When Earth finally appeared on the main display, Bora felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. They had survived their first encounter with a galactic empire and returned with proof that humans could not only fight such forces but defeat them. Earth Defense Command is hailing us, the communications officer announced. Admiral Yoon appeared on the screen, his expression unreadable. Welcome home, Redemption. Report your mission status. Mission accomplished, sir. All objectives achieved, with minimal casualties. And the evaluation fleet? Still approaching, but their behavior has changed. They are moving much more cautiously and appear to be awaiting new orders. How long do we have? Approximately 10 days until they reach Earth orbit. Admiral Yoon nodded. Understood. Dock at Luna Station for debriefing. We have much to discuss. As the Redemption approached the moon, Bo-Ra reflected on everything that had changed in the past few months. Humanity had gone from being an ignored species to a recognized power in galactic politics. Look at that, Su Jin said, pointing to the display showing Earth's orbital space. The entire system was filled with human vessels. In the months since the Redemption's departure, Earth had been building ships at an unprecedented rate. The knowledge gained from the captured Valthran technology had accelerated human development by centuries. How many ships? Bo-Ra asked. Over 200, Arya calculated. Most are converted civilian vessels, but approximately 50 are purpose-built warships using hybrid technology. The evaluation fleet would not find the helpless primitive world they expected. They would find a species that had learned to fight and was ready to defend itself. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It is from the Valthran evaluation fleet. The main display activated, showing an alien face with pale skin and large, dark,